Hi, I'm Evelyn from evelynd.com. Thanks for being here. Today, I wanted to talk about the concept of food eliminations and foods, especially that are associated with different conditions. So, again, I'm going to just share my story about my journey with Hashimoto's, which is in remission in my perception and how I view my health. So it's an autoimmune disease, and there are a lot of different protocols around autoimmune diseases. There's a lot of fear, especially if you go into social media or even any kind of health nutrition space. There's a lot of fear that's generated, a lot of rules and dogma around certain foods. So, again, in the spirit of empowerment, when it comes to your body, what I try to work with and convey to clients is look at that information. First of all, check in with your heart, not just your mind. Because if you're not in tune with what your body and your kind of the information is resonating with you, then you're basically on your mental side. And then you can fall into creating beliefs around different foods that are going to affect how those foods actually feel in your body. And I'm not discounting that sometimes this information can be life changing in terms of how you feel and function. But for example, in the autoimmune protocol space, their nightshades are your kind of your potatoes, your tomatoes, your eggplant, and peppers are kind of listed as taboo foods. Like if you have autoimmune disease and you're not feeling well, eliminate these foods. And there's also plenty of other foods like gluten, dairy, and eggs, for example. So let's just pick on the nightshades for example, and I'll use my story as a way to kind of convey how you would look at this or could look at this if you want to. So, when I was first kind of in the baby stages of walking and understanding what this autoimmune thyroid disease actually is, I was really taking in and internalizing through my mental side, not through my own resonance or even my own experience. I was really internalizing these lists of foods that I should avoid at all costs. And that includes, let's say, the nightshades. Now, for some of these foods, like gluten, I did eliminate it. And I was markedly more improved in terms of how I felt and functioned by eliminating gluten. And to this day, I avoid gluten. I'm not scared of it, but I have gone through the experimentation process of like reintroducing it. And now I just kind of know it doesn't really work for my body yet, but I'm still open. Like maybe someday it will be. But for the nightshades, and I have gone through AIP protocols where I did eliminate for months and months and months, and really it can be so miserable because so many things, like spices, for example, have these compounds in them, these nightshades. So, what I've come to after the fact, after I've gone through kind of the stress and the belief systems being developed around what was being shared outside of me and not checking in with my own resonance and my own body, is what I've come to realize is that I can handle nightshades, especially I can handle potatoes. And I noticed that I like fresh tomatoes, and I'm not really drawn to different things like tomato sauces. I just don't like crave them. So my body's intuitive kind of understanding and discernment has led me down that realization. Now that doesn't mean because I have like I put tomatoes in my chili and I like a little bit of salsa here and there, but I don't like it in general, like tomato sauces and different things like that. So it's kind of for me more of the form of the nightshade and the frequency. So, or the dose and the frequency. So I can handle it and it can be very satisfying and tasty and even nourishing. But there's an intuitive part of my understanding with my body where I'm just not drawn to that food. So what I was just sharing with a client who was wondering about nightshades for his autoimmune disease is when you are looking at this information that's all over social media and all over like the nutrition space, the health space, and so on, and you, or if you're working with a practitioner that says, "Oh, well, why don't you try eliminating this? Here's this, here's more information on, let's say, nightshades." Take that information and then check in with, all right, how is this information feeling in my body? Does it feel restrictive? Does it feel expansive? Does it resonate? And if you're not sure, then you can, by all means, go ahead and experiment. But if you're not sure, then take that information and kind of be the boss, be that empowered, you know, your empowered self, and say, okay, I received this information. I'm not internalizing it as a belief system or creating any fear around it that will, kind of create that uh, impact of it not working for your body. So you want to make sure you don't go into that belief system. And so now you start to observe as you have, let's say, the nightshades in the different forms. How does it actually feel in your body? So when I'm working with clients, I have like a food symptom tracker. You can just do the same thing in a notebook and just start to notice, like, how's my energy? How are my symptoms? If you have like joint pain or if you have like breakouts, how's my digestion? How is my weight? So kind of how is my immune system process? Do I feel sluggish? Does my skin feel dry? Am I breaking out in a rash? Am I feeling bloated? As my, like, so look for the signs and symptoms and see if you can trace back to the information that you gathered from outside of you, which might be the nightshades, for example. It's just one tiny example, and then decide whether or not you want to experiment with different forms, different doses, or eliminating that food altogether. So I hope that feels more empowering to you and less where you should be afraid of food. I just notice, especially on social media, there's so many things like don't eat this. And it's like everything conflicts with everything. So there's no hard and fast rule. And when you're looking at different, even if you're like kind of have your science hat on and you're looking at actual published research, or you're reading a book that references the published research and the evidence, you're not part of those studies. Right. So, and some of these studies can just be in petri dishes or on animals, not on humans. In the case of the AIP and the autoimmune, a lot of this research does come from humans, but not you. So put the lens on of like, is this true for me versus believing what you might hear outside of you. So I hope that helps. If you have any questions or want more information, feel free to go look at my resources at my website or reach out and schedule a free discovery session. And I'd love to hear, what foods have you stayed away from that actually aren't a big deal for your body? Or what foods have you discovered that you feel and function much better when you do eliminate? So let me know in the comments below, and let me know, give me a thumbs up if this resonates, and we'll see you next time.